This is the old Arrma Vorteks, and you may notice it's sitting up a little higher than normal. Hold on, I'm gonna explain that. The newer Vorteks has a couple of upgrades over this model, and what some people may say is a downgrade. When I compared the Granite and the Vorteks together, the main takeaway was that the Vorteks is pretty good at doing granite-y things, but the Granite isn't that great at Vortex-y things. In other words, the Granite traction rolls too easily, so I set out on a mission to find the best of both worlds, and it's a simple one. Granite shocks on the Vortex. So I'm about to show you a few clips of that, how awesome it is, the way that I have it now, and then to almost turn it into the new 223s unit, I am going to install that center differential. Now, that might make this better than the new version. We're gonna get that same center differential assembly. We're gonna have the original 100 amp ESC, which is not a 2-in-1 assembly like the new one. It has that separate receiver. Oh, it's cracked. I'll fix that. We've got an extra 100 kV rating over the new motor. The new version does still have a few other upgrades, like the metal ball ends and the shocks and the linkages, a slightly beefier center drive shaft, and the clipless body is certainly nice. But this is a good way to turn your old Vortex into the new Vortex and then just replace it with the new parts if they break. And hey, speaking of Arrma, my current raffle is for a brand new Typhon and Mojave Grom, as in the winner gets both, and tickets are less than $1. So first up, Granite shocks. Mail time. Did you say nice? Nice, dude. Oh! I saw that coming. Oh, uh-oh. Ouch. Well, that went awesome while awesome while it lasted. The shock shaft pulled out of the lower mount. I'm just gonna glue it in there. All right, back at it in a totally different season. I only let that glue dry for 4 months. Hopefully that was long enough. Whoa! A few more jumps with just the Granite shocks, and we're gonna put that center diff on in just a minute. Oh! One issue with the Vortex that I came up with, for the most part, was that it lawn darts and gets stuck in the grass. So far, it seems like the higher suspension took care of that. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, it definitely seems like less lawn darting. You can see this part here usually catches in the dirt really bad, and it obviously still does, but that taller suspension keeps it from just going pink and falling down. It's still allowed. There's still there's some forgiveness there. So now a relatively simple procedure for adding the center differential and center diff housing assembly replacement, and then I think we'll really see some handling improvements. M3 20mm. Double check all screws by hand. Check for free movement of the diff. This is how you access your motor screws, so you can set your mesh. This can require a little bit of patience, but make sure you take the time to get it right. You want to be able to feel and hear just a little bit of play between teeth. There's one more issue, and that is that this round piece here doesn't quite reach this indention. You have to extend that a little further. I'm gonna protect that rear differential hole. And there we go. Keep this assembly attached to the steering, just pivot it out of the way a little. Set this forward, and then slide it back. Sometimes you gotta roll the car a little bit to help everything engage. Reinstall the things you uninstalled. You need a new spine block, I believe it's called, whatever it is. Luckily, this motor center differential housing assembly comes with it. It just goes right where this red one was. Countersink these two pre-existing holes and add some M4 10mm tapered head screws. And we now have center differential action. Actually feels tuned pretty nicely. Definitely some power bleed off between front and rear, but it seems to recover pretty quickly. Let's see if we can do a wheelie. A little one. A little one. If you want wheelies, you want to put some thicker fluid in there. Ooh. Hop the rocks. Easy. It loves it. Now that's a parking job. Come on, tree, watch where you're going. All right, let's see if it still flips just as good as before. Definitely have some points to talk about. A few things I want to mention. Ooh, that was close. Holy crap. Had to turn my back and still landed a double. Nice. That was a close call. What a clean transfer. Is it just me, or is a nice single clean backflip more aesthetically pleasing than a double? It's just nice, smooth, fluid motions, you know? Oh. Oh, that was a mess. Oh, stopped her early. That higher suspension definitely helps with its nose darting. You think so too? Yeah, okay, I thought so. Ugh. All right. Just had to save that one. Man, poor thing. It's doing really well though. Okay, was that a double kickflip? I think it was. See, that time it lawn darted really badly and still didn't stop it in its tracks. And it used to, all the time. All right, we've got some vortexy things to talk about. First things first, yes, this is much better than just the way it sits stock, suspension-wise and center differential-wise. Of course, that is going to be up to your personal preference. If you plan on keeping this on the ground most of the time, you're probably better off with the stock suspension. I already really like these tires. They slide when you want them to, they grip when you want them to, and they still have enough mass to give it double kickflips off a standard size ramp. I just said kickflips. Backflips. Even though I did land a double kickflip in there. We most certainly improved those nose dives that used to go like that and just dig into the dirt and stop flat in their tracks. Now, even though it still tends to dig into the dirt some, it forces its way through and completes the land. And yeah, after all of those crashes, I mean, I went through a lot of front flip attempts for this thing. The more a car wears out and the more it crashes and the more the drivetrain becomes a little more uneven, front flips will start to go out of control more often on you. But yeah, even with all of that stuff, nothing broke. And that's awesome to see. I love this car. It's so versatile. I don't know, it can just do all the things. With the center differential, and I imagine that the new version would be exactly the same. It's all the same part number. I doubt it's tuned differently. I would say that this needs somewhat thicker fluid in there. And also, when it comes to trying to power slide around corners, the rear differential being too loose is really screwing it up. It leans into one side, this tire grabs, you go to accelerate, this tire spins, because again the diff is too loose, too thin of fluid I should say, and it causes the car to spin. So in my opinion, and the way that I want this thing to handle, I'd say thicken up the front diff, thicken up the rear diff a little bit more, and then for the center, it's really like perfectly in the middle right now. If you want more wheelies and more punch, put thicker stuff in it, and if you like it the way it is, just leave it. Again, I'm sure that's exactly how the new one comes anyway. So straight out of the box, if you did this to your old Granite and you compared it to a new one, it would probably be almost exactly the same, minus the taller suspension on this one. Even with it sitting higher, it still does not traction roll anywhere near as bad as the Granite does. The separate ESC and receiver is going to be an advantage to some people. Arguably, this old remote might be better. It definitely has more bells and whistles on it. It even has a battery charge level gauge for the battery in the car. Ultimately, as far as suspension links and stuff go, this one's gonna loosen up and get a little worn out quicker because it still has the plastic ball studs in the linkage. That's certainly an awesome upgrade for the new one, but again, just replace them as they fail or wear out. I do have the new 3S Big Rock coming, and it's probably gonna take the #1 spot, but for now, this is still my favorite Arrma 3S vehicle. And yep, that rear super glued shock held up just fine.